This
is Joe Cole.
This is Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and you're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back to another episode of the London is Blue podcast. As always, your host, Brandon, joined by my co-hosts, Nick and Dan. Gentlemen, it is the Manchester City review. Unfortunately, I think most of everyone jumping into this chat, Dan, they know exactly what we're going to be doing. They know the gist at this point. You lose a big four, I guess, as the pundits have reduced it. They have now officially axed the big six to the big four. So when you lose to a big four rival at home, it definitely has a little extra sting.
Well, just like they reduced or took a reductive approach to evaluating the league, our optimism and enthusiasm will be a little reduced today. But we'll try to find some silver linings, because even when you lose to a big team. I mean, we are not. There's no ordained right here, Nick, to walk out into the pitch and to win everything. And you know what? Losing helps to helps to color in the experiences of winning things like the Champions League over Man City in recent memory. I mean, we were 3 out of 4 in the calendar year, essentially. Like a little optimism, maybe, just a touch.
Put the past behind you, Dan. You know, that's, I think, where we need to be. This won't be a lot of fun today, to be honest. I'm pretty down, but we have gone. I think the silver lining at the beginning of the show is that we have gone through a really difficult stretch early in the season, which will then open us up to play some lower table teams here starting next week. So I think there is a brightness on the horizon. We just kind of get through this dark cloud first.
All right, well, to help us bring the sunshine, we've got Naz from what I can only imagine is a very, very sunny UK after the pictures yesterday. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, good. Good to be back. And sorry, I'm not bringing good news, but there'll be plenty to talk about, won't there, from this match? So yeah, let's get rocking and rolling.
Don't shoot the messenger, team. He's just the messenger.
All right. I was going to say, Naz, you usually don't bring good news, but you bring the news, which is a good balance. So we appreciate that. For everyone out there that can't see, he's rocking this awesome kit. Nick's got the Paul Cannaville Subuto. What is that called? Yeah. And I've got the Why Not Us, because I'm not going to let go yet. And Dan is just staying cozy as the Pacific Northwest cools down. But this episode, we're going to break down specifically Chelsea's bad day at the office. I'm so glad my office isn't in front of millions of people. Number 2, we'll talk about how the defense saved a lot of embarrassment. And number 3, RLC, ? We'll obviously dive into Ruben part 2. But before we do that, the patented 3-word match review. Dan, run it.
All right, so we had some good ones here. Even after a loss, which is nice to see, we had Pillow with the started 2 TU defensive, as Tuchel got it wrong. We had CSU Keith going with the positive one. Loftus-Cheek, though. We had Liz with the very apt description of poopy butt.
Nice one.
Nat with the failed citizenship test. We had C. Mark with the be a goldfish, little Ted Lasso reference there. We had Trey with the get well Reese, Kate with the 4:30 a.m. for this ? And then Classic 86 with the still European champions.
All right. Well, definitely a mixed bag, which just shows that other people are processing losses in very different ways, which is good. Dan, what about you?
I went with passive play punished. I went with the alliteration.
Alliteration's always strong. I went with surrendered the bridge.
Harsh.
That
is it? Is it harsh?
Let's hope it was a one-off, right? Just a skirmish, not the war. I went with didn't stand tall. That was kind of my whole thing before. I wanted to stand eye to eye, go blow for blow city. Sure shit did not happen. Naz, what about you?
Yeah, I think I can sense Nick's pain really already. I think he's taking it the worst out of the 3 of you guys. But I went for Tuchel's hairdryer treatment. Sat behind where the manager's dugout is at Stamford Bridge, and he was just screaming and yelling during the whole match. Like, players are getting dug out right there and then. He was trying to pass on instructions and almost play the game himself, but unfortunately, there's only so much you can do from that touchline once the whistle goes. So yeah. Tuchel's hairdryer treatment. He was angry, man.
I think there was a lot of commentary that people wanted to see if we could sneak on a 12th player just to even things out yesterday. So perhaps he could have gone out there himself and started kicking it around.
So, yeah, I'm interested to hear more about Tuchel and how that your seat was, Naz. But before we get into that, Dan, we do have some of our Apple podcast reviewers. The list is actually becoming out of control, unmanageable.
Continues to grow. It's manageable. Look, I would love for it to be unmanageable. Go and absolutely slam some 5-star Apple podcast reviews.
Come on.
And just put me to work. Make sure that I've got nothing but Apple Podcast review in the beginning of this. So anyway, Apple Podcast reviews, Anash Purwani from India, RS Beresford from the UK, Wisco Grant from Wisconsin in the United States, Daniel Kenny Gowaski with the United Kingdom, Chelsea GMD from the UK, Alex's Elbows from the UK, Jeremy Rose. We had Paul Bass 201 and L Though from the US, all leaving wonderful 5-star reviews in Apple Podcasts. We super appreciate. Haven't done it yet. You just updated your phone to iOS 15 maybe. You maybe got a new iPhone. You just transitioned over from Android. Go leave a 5-star Apple Podcast review right now.
Are you saying that upgrading to iOS 15 would allow you to leave a second review?
No, I'm just saying maybe you're in your
plug.
phone, you're using it a little bit more regularly. I don't know.
I like where Dan's going with this. If you're getting a new iPhone, you're one of the millions of people this weekend that got their new iPhone. The first thing that you should do outside of powering it on is go straight to the podcast review app. Bam, 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 straight away. Let's go.
Forget that backup. Forget syncing your fucking contacts. You don't need to call your third uncle twice removed.
You don't call anyone anyway.
Bar, pause. All right, back on topic here, okay? We don't need to go through the process. All right, here we go. Match review time. It was Manchester City on the 25th of September on this past Saturday in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge. In case you somehow missed it, the scoreline was Chelsea 0, Man City 1, which is 1, unfortunately. We're going to go ahead and throw it over to the Fifth Stand app, the official app from Chelsea FC, to run up back the highlights, and then we'll hit the lineups. Here we go.
Hey, guys. It's Jake. We do love the Fifth Stand app, but if you've been around, if you've listened to our show for a while, I really don't like putting the highlights of games like this into the pod. We didn't score a goal. They did. There was a cool goal line save. That was great. I think otherwise we're bagging this one as one of the low lights. So let's just send it back to Naz and the boys.
All right, Dan, lineup time.
All right, well, it was Edouard Mendy passing fit between the sticks, Antonio Rudiger, Andreas Christensen, and Cesar Azpilicueta as your back three. It was Marcus Alonso, Jorginho, Kanté, Kovacic, and Reece James. Yes, that's 3 midfielders in there. And then a forward pairing of Romelu Lukaku and Timo Werner. Unused subs included Kepa Arrizabalaga, Trev Chalobah, Ben Chilwell, Saul, Hakim Ziyech, and Callum Hudson-Odoi. We saw Thiago Silva come on in the 29th minute for injured Reece James. Ruben Loftus-Cheek came in the 76th minute, and Kai Havertz came in the 60th minute.
All right, well, some of the top line stats. Chelsea had 41% possession, 5 shots, none on target. Manchester City had 15 shots, 4 on target. From there, we had 13 tackles to their 16. We had 24 clearances to their 17. They had 13 corners to our 4. They were offsides 4 times to our 3. They had 2 cautions to our 3, and we conceded 12 fouls to their 10. And lastly, Naz, before I get your reactions to any of that, Kaylee_graphics with the XG saying Chelsea 0.2, Manchester City 1.7. Woof. What was your reaction maybe to the lineup, Naz, when you first saw it sitting in Stamford Bridge, hot off the copy machine? They put it in your hands. What were you thinking?
Well, I mean, could you focus on it? I mean, there were some star-studded names sitting right in front of you too. Let's just maybe reference that real quick.
Yeah, Gianfranco Zola there sat in front of us, and then Joe Cole was there in front of him, and then Joe Cole tried to get him to play for his pub team on the Sunday. So I don't know if Franco's out there playing in a park somewhere in London, but I really hope so. Him and Joe Cole up front. My God.
Nothing but backheel flicks all day. Let's go. Yeah.
The hungover men of West London are not ready for that. They are not ready for that. Rio Ferdinand and a few of the big names knocking about. Everyone wanted a ticket for this game, and why not? These two are massive contenders for the Premier League title this season. Many people are putting Chelsea out there as favourites. I think anyone who had any contacts with anyone was there trying to blag a ticket to get inside Stamford Bridge. So I did actually feel really lucky and really excited before kickoff about this match.
Well, obviously it was. I think a lot of us felt like the Stamford Bridge Chelsea didn't have our best showing out there. Tuchel going with the 5 in the midfield, or you could say the 3 central midfielders. It looked like he really tried to go toe to toe with the midfield. I mean, we saw him made that switch at Tottenham. My guess is he probably just wanted to try to neutralize that threat from the beginning. Is that how you saw it?
Yeah, I did. I just think that Tuchel always goes for the side of solidity. So they've been so solid, against Tottenham after struggling in that first half. And he thought, you know what, let's go with that solid approach again. The 3-man midfield. I wasn't surprised to see it at all. Mason Mount was out as well. So that's just another reason to go for it. I just thought it made logical sense at the time. But in the end, I guess, that's part of the reason. I think that Chelsea were poor. Not the only reason, because, you can play well in that system. They did against Tottenham. But I just think that it sent a message out that we're a bit scared of Man City. We're going to be a bit more negative. And we're prioritising being solid rather than having, creative players on the pitch. So, yeah, there was times where Kanté was sort of the main creator in that first half. And it was a bit of a problem for me. I thought that was one of the issues that the team had. They had many more. But for me, that might have been an issue. But before kickoff, I wasn't surprised. And I think they executed the lineup poorly. I don't think they really got going in that system.
Yeah, I said kind of halfway through the game, just a really poor approach from Tuchel. It's a 2 out of 10 game plan with a 6 out of 10 execution. I thought the players tried really hard. I just don't think they had it yesterday.
I think more to come on that for sure, but I think the general sentiments about lineup and how we came out underwhelmed a lot of us fans. A completely random stat that only is relevant because you are here, Naz, is that at OptaJoe tweeted at us, too, Manchester United and Chelsea have both lost a top-flight home game on the same day for the first time since New Year's Eve 2011 setback.
Wow.
Long time. Wow.
10 years.
Credit to Opta for having these random stats just right there. Just pull it from the file.
There's definitely a lot of qualifiers in there to make it a line. But yet, again, the fact that Chelsea and United lose on the same day, both playing at home, that isn't something based on the history of the clubs you would expect. One of us playing a title contender, the other one not as much. But let's not get into the details of that yet. Not for you, Naz. And then Nick with your NPET shithouse moment of the match, coming from Naz himself, tweeting Grealish and Aspie talking trash. Undercard for the next Joshua fight? ?
It was crispy out there yesterday, huh? I mean, these boys were going at it. Grealish was the most aggressive I've seen him in a very long time in terms of taking it to an opponent. I think that him and Aspie were probably about even on the day. He skinned Aspie a couple of times. Aspie got him back a couple of times. But there was a moment in this where they were just battling, and Grealish kind of fell over, and Aspie was kind of riding him like an airplane, which was neat. And so that was even in a loss, that was my shithouse moment of the day, because I appreciate the fight from Captain Aspie.
Dan, you wrote it in the script. Say it like you wrote it.
Well, no, that's what I believe that's what Nicholas has written in the script there.
That's me.
Aspie riding Grealish like an airplane, yo. What the hell?
Come on.
Yeah, Naz, not our favorite person, that Jack Grealish, especially on the Chelsea side. We've always been annoyed with him ever since Villa, last season. Care to comment on a likability scale of 1 to 10 on Jack Grealish? He was voted in our Discord server multiple times as most punchable face, which I thought was a little harsh and probably a little recency biased in the moment, but I'm not promoting that.
I think he's just like one of those kids who's always been good at football at school, so he's really cocky and irritating, and that's the kind of vibe I get off him. He's like the kid at school you just want to shut up, but he is good, and yeah, you want to just give him a slap, but you can't really argue with him on the football pitch, can you? So yeah.
He's good and he knows it. Yeah, he plays with the confidence that he knows he's better than the majority of people he plays against, and he's just gonna run up against you.
2 thoughts. One, got very good Jamie Tart vibes from Grealish yesterday. And then the second one is I kind of wish that Eden Hazard had started more shit with other players when he was at Chelsea, because I think it would have worked in his favor. I was super impressed with him yesterday.
Yeah, Grealish is mad that the opposing teams play defense on him, and therefore his hands go up in the air a lot because how dare you get
sir?
in his way? Yes, exactly. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. Thanks to sponsors for financially supporting the show. When we're back, we're going right into Bad Day at the Office topic 1. Here we go. All right, real quick, shout outs to not myself, but a Brandon who's joined the Patreon on a yearly sub. Huge shout out to you. We also have more pods coming. This might surprise you. Another 5-banger this week. Nick, you're scheduling, not me. I don't know what's going on.
Look, if you listened to all 5 pods last week, hit us up. Like we want to give you an extra special gold star for making it through the week. You'll obviously be listening to this on the Monday. Chelsea women's review on Tuesday after their 6-1 win against Manchester United this morning, which was awesome. Matt Law on Wednesday, casual discussions with our favorite person on all things rumor mill. Juve on Thursday. God, we're already back in the Champions League, so we got that on Thursday, and then Southampton on Friday. I mean, what are you going to do,
But then there's an international break. So
we got to let the air out of
hard.
the balloon a little bit.
The steam, this is maybe a bullet train at the moment, to reference the Japanese kit that Naz is wearing at the moment. But we will take a little bit of a stop at the station and slow down just a little bit heading to the beginning of October.
Probably not. But anyways, we'll cross that bridge when it happens. So first one was the Bad Day at the Office. Obviously not enjoyable for Chelsea fans to watch. Another squawka tweet here says, for the first time under Thomas Tuchel, Chelsea have failed to have a shot on target in the first half of a Premier League game at Stamford Bridge, frustrated by Pep's. And they must have, unlike the generic stats that we just pulled quickly, they must have said that Chelsea registered a shot on target, or they only tweeted it at halftime and did not go back and update.
It was a halftime tweet.
Yeah, they should have quote tweeted it full time. We've got the pass map, which we'll just use for reference a little bit later. But Naz, you jumped in right away with the tweet saying this feels like a Mount game. Chelsea missing that midfielder who can smell when to drop into the center mid spots and when to push forward. Care to elaborate?
Well, I just think Mason Mount last season, he was exceptional at this job. So under Thomas Tuchel in this formation, we know that Mount usually plays that number 10 role, right? So he's one of the 3 forwards. When you draw your graphic map, you're putting Mount right up there. But a lot of the time, when it's a big game especially, he drops in alongside 2 of the midfielders and makes it into a 3 if Thomas Tuchel wants him to do that. Or maybe, and this is what he's exceptional at, he's got this great tactical mind where he can just feel it in the game that he needs to help his boys out. You know what I mean? So he's versatile enough to do that. He's a great defensive player as well, as having some attacking output. So I think that's where I felt Mount was missing. And some of the games I'm thinking of last season, they include the Champions League final, and a lot of those games in that Champions League run, particularly the Real Madrid games, where Mount did that time and again, dropping in, stopping Modric, stopping Kroos. And I think that actually, that was something that was lacking maybe from Chelsea, because we saw that the 2 forwards, they ended up looking isolated. Werner was just sort of using his pace, running down the channels, and Lukaku was barely getting a touch of the ball, 21 touches of the ball during the match yesterday. Probably Lukaku's worst game for Chelsea so far. Not necessarily his fault, but it just shows you that systemically they couldn't play into him, and he is the talisman. You need him in the game if you're going to win these type of matches, and he was just bypassed really for 90 minutes. You leave him on because he can get a goal out of nowhere, but he was bypassed for 90 minutes, and that was a concern. And yeah, Mason Mount could have been that player that could have helped out. And I was a bit concerned as well with Havertz, his performance when he came on, because I don't think he made a huge impact on the game, actually. And I think Mount would have been the go-to guy if he had been around. I
mean, that's definitely interesting. I think it is always easy to probably look at the person not available. It is worth pointing out this is Mount's first time missing a match due to injury in a very long time. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it was well into the triple digits of games, I want to say. And so
Derby County, I don't think he's missed one since Derby County. That's what he's never missed a match for Chelsea before.
Right.
I think it was like half a match. It was like half a match where he like sat out initially. He didn't start, but he kind of came in at like halftime for one. It was just absolutely crazy in terms of like his durability and his dependability, and like to miss this type of game, it must have really been something precautionary. Again, Chelsea have to play 5 bajillion matches this season, as Nick so affectionately reminds us. And you have to manage the squad. And there's going to be games you have to win and have to get a result without playing every one of your stars. And that's just going to be the job incumbent upon Thomas Tuchel.
Can we just be honest, though? I mean, I think Mount would have obviously helped yesterday. He is one of the best players on the team. If he was out there, he would have been one of the only players counter-pressing, though, which wouldn't have worked. The team was set up poorly. The system did not work. City swarmed. We did not react. We didn't have a plan B. There was nothing that suggested that we were ever going to get back into the game once they scored. It was as weak of a performance as we've seen in a very long time, dating back to when Tuchel first started at Chelsea, maybe up there with, I don't know, five goals given in by West Brom. I mean, it was that bad for me yesterday. I might be on the more negative scale of this, but I just sat there and it just was like getting punched in the face over and over and over again. I mean, City obviously were out to prove a point, and there was nothing that group of players was going to be able to do to get back in the game at all. And when you look at this thing from a larger, hey, are Chelsea title contenders or the not title contenders perspective, you only have to play City twice in a year, right? So that's good because, off of yesterday's performance, you wouldn't want to play them 4 or 5 times. But at the same point, you wonder if they're quite ready. It's not to say that they won't get there. It's not to say that we haven't had a great start to the season. It's not to say that we don't have a better squad this year than we did last year on paper. But that result lacked a lot of fight for me, and I don't know if I can get over that as we head into another big match. I think it's going to be a real test for Tuchel to see if he can get it right.
So feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. But to Nick's point, what I would say is the players are maybe less of an issue than the way the team was set up. I mean, leaving Timo Werner at half, Lukaku even dropping in is not the recipe for success. Tuchel even came out after the match and said that it didn't matter when the ball got to Lukaku. The chance was already dead because no one was around him. He had no one to play off, nothing to do. He was swarmed by 2-3 City defenders. So then you go to like the way that the team was set up to play, extremely, extremely defensive. And if you look at the pass map here, Jorginho is between Rudiger and Christensen, right? And then you've got Alonso, who is not interested in defending whatsoever, which leaves Kovacic and Kanté in the middle with Aspi, out on the right, just doing as much as he can. And then on the other half of the sheet, you see Lukaku and Timo. Massive disconnect, right? And to your point, like maybe Mount, he would be stuck in defending and then run off those guys and create opportunities. But I think to me, the biggest like validating factor or like example I can go to of why it didn't work was in the second half. We clearly came out and opened up our shape a little bit more. We were so compact the first half and just defending for our life. The second half, we actually pressed them a lot higher up the pitch, and they were less able to get the ball in and around the box as much as they did the first half. And again, that's a tactical shift for me that it was really frustrating to see that how defensively we were. Again, maybe I was false sense of confidence. And as I went into the preview saying we can go toe-to-toe with City, right? It's not perfect. Yes, they're defensively solid, only conceding 1 goal, albeit to Spurs. But the point is like we should be confident. We should be feeling good. We're at home. Like Pep's complaining about fans and when he's going to leave. And City just aren't the same City they used to be, albeit very talented. And I just felt like that was not the same mentality that the players came out with.
No, I think you're right. Chelsea were defensive. I think it sent a message. That was a bad start. Chelsea hurting Chelsea. Then you go up against City, who were at their very best on the day. And you have to say that. And this is why Man City are a top team. And you know what? The pressing intensity was really important to unsettle Chelsea. So In the beginning, before the match, Chelsea didn't help themselves, I think, with the lineup. I think, they could have been more proactive in attack, more creative, put creative players on the pitch. Maybe you go both Ziyech and Havertz and just trust them to come out of their bad run of form. I think that, Werner and Lukaku means you're just going to play direct. You're just going to play on the counter-attack. And hey, this formation can work because it's the same one Lukaku played last season at Inter. But I think just the way Chelsea tried to play it with those long balls, not playing through very well at all, and then Man City, they were controlling the game, the pressing. There was just so many times where Chelsea gave the ball away in the first half through being pressed with that great intensity with those forwards that Man City were doing. Man City were pressing so high up the pitch that Chelsea just kept losing the ball in defence. They couldn't even get to Jorginho half the time, and that's what they need to do. That's how Chelsea play. They knock it about between the centre backs a bit. They play it into Jorginho. Jorginho fires it through the lines quickly, and Chelsea were on the front foot, and they just couldn't do that. Man City had looked at Chelsea's patterns and they nullified it, and it was a masterclass in pressing. And Chelsea, from losing the ball again and again in that half, their confidence was just shot. And that's probably where, Nick's point comes into it for me, where the mentality is wrong. Their confidence was shot because they were being dominated. Chelsea aren't used to being dominated. And I think that's how the game got away from Chelsea. That's sort of my take on it. You feel it when you're inside the stadium and you're looking at the match and you just feel like, look, Chelsea have just lost their confidence to play through Man City. They can't. And they never got that back. Even with the substitutions, they couldn't get that back. So for me, if Chelsea managed to get a point from that game, it would have been a minor miracle, because there was absolutely no way Chelsea deserved a point from that game. And I was looking at it when Kovacic hit that ball in the second half and it deflected, and I was like, this could be an absolute spam of a point. But I think that those kind of things concern me. And you know what? Chelsea have been on a great run at the moment until this match, but there's been a lot of moments in all these other games as well where Chelsea have been poor. So there's a lot of things overall, I think, behind the scenes that haven't clicked for the attack. The Lukaku partnerships aren't great. A lot of his goals have been individual goals or tap-ins. It's not been like great passing moves and stuff like that in the final third. So I think there is a bit of concern around the chemistry in attack at Chelsea at the moment. And that never, ever showed itself at Stamford Bridge yesterday.
A couple of quick points on that. One, Joe and Dan brought this up a couple of weeks ago on the Tinkerman show, but Lukaku doesn't press. That's not in his game. So if you're relying upon someone like that to start the press from the front, you've lost before you started. And so you need, Chelsea need to figure out what to do with him when he doesn't have possession of the ball. Because I couldn't agree more, Naz. I mean, he was just kind of out there yesterday doing whatever. That was awkward. Two is, if you're getting pressed, which Chelsea were the entire game. I mean, it was astonishing from City yesterday. I called it a swarm. I don't know what Pep called it. He probably has some really weird name for it, but it was like a swarm mentality. I mean, they were everywhere. They were giving everything for the team, which is not typically the way that City play, right? They have a lot of individual skilled players who want to do their own thing, who want to express themselves, but they really gave it up for the team yesterday and was super impressive. The way that we started to break that down in the second half, though, was someone like Ruben deciding to take on a player and break the press, and then having room to operate because he did the thing that he was supposed to do, right? Which is get past my guy, make another guy commit to me, pass the ball so there's room, and moving on. Like that, it's not super complicated to beat the press, but Chelsea didn't have anyone yesterday in the team that was willing to do a one-on-one take on and try and break up the play. And so it was really tough, because there were a couple moments where Timo was through, right? And he had acres of space, but his first touch let him down significantly again. And I don't know, Dan, for me, that was it. Those were like 3 chances in the game where we could have done something and didn't happen.
I mean, it's also the fact that we do have to credit Manchester City because of the way they played and the way they approached it. I mean, look, Bernardo Silva has not had the best time in England. He had a really great game in midfield, kind of pressing in and making life difficult for Kanté and Kovacic and Jorginho, the same with Rodri. I mean, both of them were so critical to disrupting the comfort that midfield has. And if Jorginho is having to drop back to a position that's basically on par with where your last defender is, like, he's too deep to impact the play. And so they did everything they needed to do to neutralize what makes Jorginho special when he can. And there was not enough forward movement from that midfield, because it was essentially flat with Kovacic and Kanté. Neither got forward enough to break that, where you could then play it out to a winger because the wingers were also pressed in. I mean, I actually think the game changed with the James injury. And I know we were talking a little bit about this, Naz, during the match, but to me, James is at least going toe-to-toe with Grealish. When that change happened, I know maybe, Nick, you said it was kind of even on the day. I actually think Asby had a real hard time containing Grealish post-sub, injury sub, when he was forced further back. And Grealish kind of got around Asby a few times and then was able to kind of get to the byline, kind of pop that ball into the box and give someone an opportunity to come good. And we weren't as clinical as we needed to be. The passing was off because we were being pressed and couldn't get the ball out. And I mean, Timo tried at one point to win a throw in versus getting, it was at least trying something. I neither Lukaku and Werner were going to get anything because they were essentially on Lost. The plane had crashed. They were on the island and nobody knew where they were.
Yeah, they were a team on their own. It was Chelsea's defense and midfield. Then it was Werner and Lukaku, and they had to magic something up out of nowhere, and it just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't enough. It was disjointed team performance. So yeah, I couldn't really see that. But yeah, I think Grealish had gave Azpilicueta a tough time. I believe that that save from Mendy was exceptional from Grealish. Just keeping that ball out when he had no right to. And yeah, I was impressed with Grealish actually in the second half. But I think that City could have had more goals as well. They could have been 2 up. It was way more likely that City were going to add than Chelsea were going to score at any point in that game. So I was just baffled that Chelsea would manage to stay in the game, and that's what Chelsea relied on. Everything this season has been built upon the defending again, their willingness just to defend 1v1 duels, and there was some great moments. The good moments Chelsea were literally just Rudiger not letting somebody like Phil Foden beat him. When Phil Foden's quicker, nippy, small, but Rudiger's defending just exceptional. Last ditch, Christensen doing the right fouls at the right time, getting in there at the near post. And Thiago Silva was immaculate, but even he got pressed and gave away a cheap ball in the second half. But he was, near perfect. And if it wasn't for, those kind of performances, which Chelsea have got used to this season, just the individual defending. This isn't the structure of the coaching. This is just guys being good in the duel. This is just guys being good. And that's what Chelsea lent upon to only lose that match 1-0, was those kind of moments. But for me, as a structure, Man City was so far ahead. And Chelsea can thank those guys for having 3 points in the last few games, and a lot of them. And they can thank them for not getting blown away by Man City as well, because Rudiger's been an absolute giant, by the way, this season. It's been ludicrous now. And yeah, he does it in an individual way as well as, in a structural way.
Well, so 2 things from my perspective, and I think they really come down to the Kai and Ruben subs as well, was that they're forward-thinking players. In the first half, we would pass backwards, sideways, and all of a sudden we had nowhere to go. We'd lump it forward, usually miss it the pass. What we saw even with Kai, and I understand, Naz, that you're saying it wasn't that great, he always looked to go forward, right? So he would even get it on the flank, and instead of just dropping it back to Alonso or to Rudiger, he would at least try to flick on and try to find Timo. And I think that was the difference. Ruben and Kai looked to go forward, whereas we didn't do that in the first half. And a lot of it was just back and sideways, and we ended up just suffocating ourselves and inside our own box and had to dump it and had nothing going for us. So I think those are the positives of those subs. We can talk later. But then lastly, no matter what, Naz, even the 93rd minute, I felt like one long ball drops in the box kindly, we had a chance. To your point, like we were in it even to the end, which I think is a credit, even though realistically we were not in it from like the observer's perspective. There was always that half chance and that feeling that if something falls kindly, Chelsea do have the chance, and it just didn't come though. So moving on to the defense, right? Because I think that's what you just pitched on Rudiger, who is potentially being lined up for a 400,000 euro week wage at Bayern, allegedly. Silva, Rudiger, Christensen, the back three. Silva having to come in the 29th minute. I think I immediately said in the Discord, Naz, God, I hope he's warmed up and doesn't pull something. He didn't. He made it the whole game. We're good. He slotted in, and we went from there. But in your perspective, again, Silva, Rudiger, Christensen, if you know, I don't think Alonso did much of anything defensively. Not that you really expect him to. And then obviously Aspie having to move out when Reece got hurt, if there's a big change there. But defensively with Mendy, they showed up.
Yeah, I think so. I think Alonso was poor, like you said, really poor. His pass completion was like 50% at one point. It was ludicrous how many balls he was giving away. And yeah, I think that as defenders, again, it was a bit of a masterclass in, you know, dealing with those duels and stuff like that. But it was also, the defenders were a problem as well in other ways. Like they couldn't play out, you know, that's where Chelsea starts their attacks. So yeah, defensively, when City had the ball, they were exceptional, but they couldn't play out at all. They were terrible on the ball. They couldn't, you know, get through that press. So there was kind of two sides to the game. And I think Reece James was almost the best example of that. The fact that he was exceptional in the duels against Grealish. Like, you know, Grealish wasn't getting around him. But at the same time, Grealish was making Reece James lose the ball by pressing him. So it almost summed up, I think, that, you know, what the defensive performances were like. But it's just, this is what's special about Chelsea right now, is just the defenders just love defending. It goes back to that mantra that Tuchel has sold them, where it's be horrible to play against. We want to be horrible to play against. And they keep saying that. You see interviews with Chelsea defenders, and they almost always say that about the defense. We want to be horrible to play against, and they are, and that's why, you know, Rudiger's certainly horrible to play against, because he flattened. Who was it who flattened in the first minute? Gabriel Jesus or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like that's something Chelsea can lean upon, but they need to not be overly reliant on it. You know, it needs to be more than that now. You can't just be a great defensive team. We need the team to take the ball, find that attacking chemistry, and build up to, you know, being a more complete package.
Yeah, I mean, I would quickly say, for as bad as it was yesterday, and like, again, a lot of people were saying that if this was a boxing match, they would have stopped it, which I think is like just a really dumb comparison for a sporting event, but whatever.
Well, boxing does not 1-to-1 correlate to a football match terribly well.
And to be fair, we were taking the blows in response. Anyways, let's not.
It happens all the time. Stop saying that, pundits. I think it's super dumb.
It was like Homer Simpson, the boxer, you know, and he just takes the punches, but then he tries to push the guy down. That's what Chelsea's approach has been sometimes in the last few weeks.
I would quickly say that for all of that nonsense, the fact that they only had 4 shots on target is a credit to not only the individual performances, which Naz touched on, but I think the defensive capability of this team. City are going to play a lot of matches this season. They're going to score a lot of goals. They're going to have a shit ton of shots on target. 4 is not a lot for them. You know, and I know they had 0 in the Champions League final, and we've held them before under Tuchel. But for as much as there was in this game for them, and they were clearly the better team, they were clearly dominant, you know, 4 shots on target is not anything to write home about. And I think they showed Pep on the sideline furious a lot yesterday, because if I'm projecting here, he thought they should be up 5-6-0, whatever. And they couldn't really do it. I mean, Mendy was obviously significant, Dan, in the way that he kind of came out and stopped a couple of them. But, you know, that's not a crazy number. 4 is manageable for a Chelsea defense.
Well, and when it's a minorly deflected goal that makes its way into taking a little bit of a misdirection off of Jorginho to head in the right direction. But look, it was shot goalward, so that kind of, they all count when they go into the back of the net, and it just was something that was a little unfortunate there. I think to the point about before talking about Mendy. The defenders playing the balls to get the attackers forward. Silva was able to do that a little bit when he got in. He had one or two just kind of crossfield balls that were really a delight to watch. And I think the thing that hopefully will happen during training between now and the next match is Asby had a couple of times where the move was on and you had Lukaku and Werner both kind of going one-on-one versus a defender. And you just have to kind of hit that ball earlier and give them a chance to try to beat him on speed, particularly when you have both of them running in the same direction. And that was something that, whether we were kind of waiting to make sure we didn't give up possession, or maybe you were kind of waiting for a more clear-cut chance, like give them the 50-50 ball and try to hope that one of them kind of breaks through or forces them into a mistake, because, Manchester City are human, right? They are a machine. They are impressive. They are a juggernaut, but they are not infallible. And so if you sometimes gamble on a mistake, like just, City won off of a little bit of a mistake. But Mendy, to kind of throw some praise on a player, really impressive. I think we all kind of felt post midweek with Kepa and kind of the penalty shootout, how impressive he was there. And, we would have been fine with him, in goal. But Mendy had some just exceptional saves in this match. The fingertip one on Grealish to kind of push it out was, Brandon, you are our resident goalkeeping expert. So I feel like I'm taking the shine, taking the spotlight here. I want to throw it over to you. But Mendy was great. He was great.
No, praise is accepted from everyone, right? Like, for sure.
So it's only when we decry the goalkeeping performance.
Then you usually don't know what you're talking about, which is not your fault.
Full double standard.
Not your fault.
Got rolling on.
Mendy like the defenders, right? He didn't have to be proactive. He was just being very reactive and just dealing with whatever came his way, and he did that. Just like Rudiger and Silva, a lot of times they just had to put a foot in, put a tackle in. Christensen even, upending someone at half, for a counterattack because we were dead in the water. Thankfully, that didn't cost us any goal in that situation. But they were. I bet Asby, Rudiger, Christensen, Silva, and Mendy were absolutely shattered after yesterday because of all the mental processing and reacting to all those flows. To be able to stay engaged the whole time is what is most impressive of kind of that core group. That had to do a lot of defending and from different situations too. City, they come at you from the left, the right, the center. They'll do a lot of different things as well. So it's not like you can kind of get set up and be like, all right, they're coming down the right flank again. Here we go. It's always changing. So he had strong stats. I think he passed the eye test, and So, anyways, I was happy. I thought it was a good day from a lot of them. So.
His save when he got big on Grealish, who was just in on goal, was exceptional. I know the fingertip one got all the praise yesterday, but I think that could have easily been 2-0. And, the fact that he was brave enough to come out and I think take one off the face and shoulder just showed me his character is just rock solid. So big praise for him for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and we can touch on a few others. Obviously, Ruben Loftus-Cheek getting a 30-minute cameo, looking quite well. Or wait, it wasn't even 30 minutes. My bad. It was
25.
15 actually. Holy shit, he didn't come on to the 76 minute. I thought he was on for a lot longer. He seemed like he was on for a lot longer, and maybe that was some of the benefit, Naz, but Ruben, after coming on last match, against Villa, and then again, had some very forgetful performances in preseason, looked sharp. At Nick Verlaney tweeting, RLC has been the only bright spot in this match, unafraid to take players on. What a concept. But again, he definitely looked settled. I don't know if it's because he came on late and he's fresh legs running at tired legs, but he looked like he should be there. He looked like he belonged.
Yeah, I think you touched on it right earlier when you said that he kind of like just carried the ball past people, breaking that press, and I think that's exactly what was needed. And I was calling for it earlier. I wanted him on sooner. On my Twitter, I was just like, get him on. Like, it seems clear.
You were in shouting distance. You were closer. You could have made it happen in real life.
Oh man, I should have done actually. Yeah, but yeah, I would have helped Ruben, man, and he deserves it. And it's great. It's a beautiful story that he's even back in. I can't believe it. And it's interesting that, you know, Brandon said that he had a tough pre-season, and maybe that's the reason why Saul's in the club, because I was looking at it, and now, especially having seen Ruben play number 6, loads of people were also telling me, you know, that when he was sticking around, I was reporting it that he was staying, and he didn't look for loan moves like a lot of the others, you know, that are at Chelsea did. He didn't look for loan moves because he wanted to stay. And a lot of people tell me he can't play number 6. He can't play number 6. Well, he can. He's proven that now in these 2 games against good teams, Villa and Man City as well. And yeah, he plays it in his own way. He's not going to play it like Jorginho. He's not going to play it like Kovacic. But this is a guy who is been great in the tackle. He's been great at breaking through the lines with his dribbling. His use of the ball has been exceptional in the last few games. And yeah, I think Brandon's right. His confidence to play at Chelsea is coming back. And maybe, you know, after that big injury, he's lost some of the explosiveness that he might have had in the forward line. But I think for me in midfield, he can do it. He's just an exceptional physical specimen, a unique physical player with the technical gifts as well. And, you know, he is that technical player because he was small growing up, and then he had a massive growth spurt and became a giant. And now he's basically like a small technical player in a big man's body. And that's what makes him so unique. And people struggle to play against that because he is unique. So, yeah, I'm really happy to see him doing well. It also symbolizes that he's above Saul in the pecking order, which is something that I wrote this week because Saul has really struggled in his first 2 games. And, you know, to me now, Saul looks a bit more like a luxury signing because Loftus-Cheek has been so good. You know, I had some doubts whether he could be this good again, but it's amazing to see that he can be, and he's proven a lot of people wrong. And yeah, I think that the door is wide open for him to get some minutes at this Chelsea team and rehabilitate himself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just pleased. I'm so pleased for him. I mean, this is the story that I think we said in preseason. We're like, man, it's probably over for him at Chelsea. And the fact that he had such a strong performance midweek, obviously it's a League Cup match. It's not the Champions League final, right? But he had such a strong performance in midfield once they kind of adjusted the formation a little bit to suit him. And then he goes out today, and I thought he was excellent. I know defensively, you know, I had a few people chirping back at me that his defensive positioning in the double pivot is not quite there yet, which is fair enough. You know, I would accept that, but he just brings a different dimension, Dan, than I think any other midfielder that we have. And when he's able to shift away from a player, press it forward a little bit, and then make a key pass, I think that is where his bread and butter is. Yeah,
he's just a different profile. And I think Saul is more in the profile of someone like a Kovacic, right? And so, you know, you've got like a 1-for-1 potential, maybe a little bit more of a frequent goal scorer.
Jorginho for me. Like, I don't see the shiftiness out of him at all. I don't see the ability to break press at all. Like,
well, I'm talking more about like prime athletic days, not like how he's played for us currently. But what I would say is that Ruben gives us a different dynamic of player, a different level of physicality. He has the ability, similar to like a Kanté, to just kind of take someone on and let them roll off of the shoulder as he continues to press the ball forward and win the ball back. And I think in that regard, you know, also he has a pretty good shot on him as well too. And so you would imagine that, you know, especially if Kanté is getting limited minutes, if, you know, Juventus does have a couple of players out, you know, Morata's not going to be fit for the match, Dybala's not going to be fit for the match, maybe Ruben is primed to get a start here. Like that could happen. I mean, we have to rotate. You have to take advantage of the size of the squad and the number of competitions we're in, Brandon, and actually figure out how to get the most out of players. And if I think we will put our hands up in the air and say we are absolutely Ruben Loftus-Cheek fans and supporters, and we've been fans of him for a long time. And so him coming good is absolutely something we would all be rooting for. But just in general, if you're a Chelsea supporter, whether you're a Cabamista or whatever, it's just good to have more options available to Tuchel.
Looks good coming off the bench. Looks like a good bench option. Changed the game in a positive way twice. Like that, all he can do is perform well when he's given the chance. He had just shy of 2,000 minutes with Fulham last season. So again, he played the whole season. Challenging season just in general. He's got 15 minutes in the Premier League this season, so only 1,875 more. You got it, Ruben. All right, let's go ahead. We got Reese's injury. Ben Dinnery tweeting, high ankle sprain for Reece James. As always, severity is key and will determine potential return to play. Unfortunately, Tuchel didn't have an update on Sunday. They're still waiting for the swelling to go down to assess it, but the database averages from Premier Injuries is 56 days, which is just shy of 2 months for those of you doing calculations at home. And then the quickest is 28 days, so just shy of a month if all things go well. And we're not even talking about the longest because Reece is a freak and he's just an absolute boss man.
And he's young, and he's really young, so he's not old man River over here trying to recover.
High ankle sprains though are the most difficult to come back from. And I think that's why you're seeing it's not like 7 to 10 days. It is a month usually at a minimum. So we'll have to see. But Naz, does this potentially be more time for Trevoh, or do you think that it's going to continue to be Christensen sliding to the right, Aspie at right wing back?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the primary formation for sure. Trevoh gets a bit more time, of course, so that's a positive for him.
Maybe Hudson-Odoi.
Hudson-Odoi as well. Absolutely looks terrible at wing back. It's probably, for me, the weakness of this Chelsea squad is the fact that Hudson-Odoi sometimes has to play wing back. And last season he looked good at it, but I think now he's getting fed up with it. He doesn't feel like he belongs there, and it's starting to come through in his performances. I didn't think he was very good there against Villa. So for me, get Aspie in there as often as you can. We know Aspie didn't have his best game against Man City, so it is a blow. I think it's a blow to lose Reece, and he was amazing in midweek as well. Like, there was it was a funny game midweek against Villa where there was a few players who were quite poor and a few who were brilliant, and Reece was one of the brilliant players. So it's a blow for me. He'll be missed.
Well, and I would quickly say Grealish got away with a pretty dumb foul early on against him on that side, and I just hope that there wasn't intent there, because if there was, then that's a huge issue for me. I'm all for competitive play, but it looked a little weird on TV. It didn't look like a necessarily playing the ball type of moment for me. So we'll have to kind of see what happens there. But it's a massive loss for us if he can't go for a month or two. I mean, Chelsea will have to figure something out.
Yeah, rough couple weeks for Reece there with the handball red card, now the injury, and if it puts him out for a while, it's just something that the team's going to have to adjust to and see. But as you know, no rest for this team. It continues to move on, and there's going to have to be solutions very, very quick. Dan of the match. Obviously, we know the rules. We didn't make them. We just play by them, Dan. So I'll let you at least get your obligatory plug in.
Well, I don't run the poll when we lose, but I took a dictatorial approach to this and just gave it to Edouard Mendy because he kept it from being a little more embarrassing. Obviously, I think people were very excited about the Loftus-Cheek cameo. Maybe you could have made a case for a defender, but I think in general, Mendy saves one, probably 2 goals there. So, I give it to him.
Just waiting for arguments, none. Okay. Anyways, I know this is a Chelsea podcast and where we're at. I would like to share some lighthearted news that Arsenal thrashing Spurs 3-0 at the moment as we record. It's not final, all right? It is coming up on halftime. So if that drastically changes as you're listening to this Monday, that wasn't on me. So the live table as it stands, Liverpool on top on 14 points, Man City, Chelsea in second and third respectively, United and Everton all on 13 points in that order. So Man City 2, Chelsea 3, United 4, Everton 5. Brighton just sitting outside in sixth on 12 points looking in, and that Arsenal, Tottenham.
But Brighton still have to play.
Yeah.
If Brighton were to beat Crystal Palace, they will go top of the Premier League table.
Wow.
The XG gods have shone favorably on them this season after last season of basically banishing them to purgatory.
Could I quickly say Brentford did us a massive favor yesterday, and
Huge.
Just massive thanks to everyone associated with Brentford Football Club for showing up against Liverpool and their Ronald McDonald shirts yesterday. That was a tremendous moment for us all. I mean, like, here's the thing about how bad yesterday was. Even though I was super upset, and I still am, about the approach to the game and just getting punched in the face over and over, we didn't really lose that much in the grand scheme of things. City were 3 points behind us anyway because they've been kind of off at the beginning of the season. Liverpool dropped points. United dropped points. Brighton, who knows what'll happen with them. But like, we at this point in the season, we didn't really lose much and still have a huge run of very winnable games coming up. So, I mean, just a massive results let up yesterday for us.
Naz?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's too early to judge too much, but you're looking at Man United might be creaking a little bit. It could go either way, that one. It could be a bit of a disaster for them, and big pressure being put on them and a lot of debate and all that, or they could just come out of it. I don't think Chelsea are really in that sort of position where they can be too heavily criticised, or they're not near a crisis, but Man United feel like they're on the edge of potentially one. If they lose a Champions League game now, then they're struggling in that competition, and the league becomes even more paramount for them. I mean, it is going to be those top four. Brighton being so brave up there, and a few others. Everton, I can't believe they're up there. With the players they've got, they have no right to be near the top four. It's very early days, I think, though, and we need to accept that. And Chelsea have come through, like Nick said, such a difficult fixture run. You were looking at it before, and I think everyone would have taken this number of points from those games. I don't think anyone would have said, that they'd have been unhappy with that sort of points tally around about now. So I think that it's been a great start to the season for Chelsea overall. The top four will be the top four. We all know who they're going to be. It's just about the order. But I think Man United at the moment are looking like maybe the weakest link out of those teams at the minute. And Man City have reminded everyone that they are a big boy, and we need to not be too reactionary.
Well,
I think West Ham was going to be the one that I think is going to continue to give people problems. They continue to find ways to win, and they look very, very dangerous. They had a little bit of trouble getting around Leeds initially, but then found the winning goal. And Antonio just looks great. Rama looks great. Like, they're just a complete side.
They're super unlucky to lose to United as well. I mean, we have to go back to last week, but Chelsea's run of fixtures. We play Juve on Wednesday. Okay, it's going to be tough. It's away in Turin. Southampton at home, very winnable. Brentford away. Who knows? Maybe they'll turn
West
up.
London derby.
Yeah,
that will be tough because it's straight after the international break. My God, and Thiago Silva won't be available. You won't have Reece. That one could be very interesting.
Could be a challenge. Then Malmo at home, Champions League. Then Norwich at home. Put 3 points on the board.
That's definitely 3 points.
They're really bad. Then we go into let's see,
Southampton,
EFL
Carabao Cup.
Yep. Then Newcastle should be a very winnable game. Malmo away, Burnley, Leicester City. I mean, like, that's through the end of November basically for Chelsea. There's a lot of really winnable fixtures there for the team. So go do it.
important time to go on a run. Anyways, Naz, thanks so much for being at the game for us and bringing us the sights and the smells of Stamford Bridge, including Gianfranco Zola and all those other big names, Joe Cole, Rio Ferdinand, just you and your mates.
Yeah.
We need to get him out of here so he can go to his pub game with all of them.
That'll be the game to cover. I want to cover that. Like, I'm going to be down there live tweeting.
Oh, I love it. Anyway, but again, Naz, yeah, we do just thank you for coming on. Obviously, I think we're friends first, but love your perspective that you bring. Like I said, balancing our Chelsea bias out a little bit. We appreciate that.
Oh, no worries. It's good to have the passion now. Keep it going.
We will, sir. We promise you that. Anyways, listeners, again, make sure you prep yourself. All right, clear the calendars, clean up the podcast feeds on Monday. We got a lot of episodes coming at you. Don't want them to get lost in the shuffle. But it's also because it's just genuinely a big week for Chelsea. Again, this is still crunch time, playing in all the extra competitions like big teams do, and we have to make sure we cover not just the men, but the women and youth, and we will be doing that. So that's going to wrap us up. So until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.